Now, I'm not going to start with the root causes of woundedness today. I want to really continue to look through characteristics, because the more we look through the fruit and the characteristics, the more you're going to be able to hopefully identify issues in your own life, which then will hopefully make you more desperately listen to what I say tomorrow, and more desperately seek God at night time, because you know, if you're at the place where you go, you know what, this is really good for such and such, that person there, but this is, I'm really good, I'm healed, I'm good, and I don't really have any needs, then you're not going to really deal with your issues, right? And then the more that I can let you know that you're messed up, then the more desperate you're going to get to seek the Lord's help, okay? So I'm going to try to help you identify how messed up you really are. So the first possible, or the first characteristic of woundedness, and obviously you won't have all of these, we're different personalities. Different personalities will respond to hurt and woundedness in different ways. Basically there's two main ways that people respond to hurt and woundedness. The first is the flight, and the other is the fight. So like a lot of people that are very aggressive abusers, the fight people can become the abusive personality. Their abuse and their fight, confrontation type personality can flow out of their woundedness and out of their fear. A lot of anger comes out of fear. Fear of losing control. Fear of being hurt. So the self-defense mechanism of that person is, I'm going to make myself scary. I'm going to be in control here. I'm going to shout. I'm going to threaten and even follow through with threats. This is how I keep myself safe from being hurt. And I don't want to lose control, because if I lose control, I saw what happened to the victims that lose control, and I don't want to be a victim. But the problem is that this is an extreme in the flesh. So they fight, they're abusers, they move into more of an aggressive, rebellious behavior. So a lot of rebellion comes out of the woundedness. The flight people, their way of defending themselves is they escape, they hide. They might not run away in their body, but they run away inside. So they shut down, they go quiet. They don't fight, they just go quiet. But they will do things like they'll ignore you, they'll try not to see you. So these people have what we call the victim behavior. They're the victims, they're the abused. And this is where the rejection issues are very strong in them. There's a third ungodly way of responding to woundedness in life, and we call that the good works people. Good works. And so they try to deal with their pain by being, they become what we call the rescuer. They try to rescue everybody. They become like the Mother Teresa type personality, you know, that tries to save the world. But they're not trying to save the world because they're motivated by love. They're trying to save the world because they're trying to feel better about themselves. So they're always doing good things, and they're rescuing people, and so the good works rescuer. And when I was on the mission field, I met a lot of NGOs, people that were working with, you know, poverty alleviation and medical programs for the poor. And so these people are really messed up. But they're running around, really messed up people, a lot of woundedness, they've been through divorces, there's drug issues, but they're going around, they think they're good people because they're helping the poor, and they're feeding the poor, and they're doing medical work amongst the poor. And so a lot of the good works that we see, you know, good works don't lead to salvation. Paul in Galatians tells us that. True salvation should lead to good works that flow from the heart of God. But good works doesn't lead to salvation. So this is the most deceptive. So these guys, they go to Bible college, they become pastors, they become missionaries. They're to save the world. But, you know, here they are saving the world, and yet their marriage and their children are suffering. So I've seen a lot of pastors like that. They're running around saving the world, ministering to everyone. And did you know, in South Korea, I've got a statistic of this, up to 90% of the wives of Korean pastors suffer from deep depression in South Korea. So the pastor that's leading a church of 5,000, 10,000 people has a wife that's suffering depression. Children that are suffering depression. Identity issues. What's going on? Jesus didn't say, first love the world or love Africa. He said, love your neighbour. In other words, your wife and your children. So these people have got all of these issues, and you can see the real issues in a person in how they treat their spouse. That's when you see who they really are, how they treat their spouse, and then how they treat their children. The person behind closed doors, the mask comes off. In the church, they show the happy mask. In the world, they're you know, a really wonderful person. So this is the other one you've got to really watch out for. It's so deceptive. This is what the Pharisees struggled with. Self-righteous. Because this issue here, the flight, victim, rejection, this is what we call inferior pride. Inferior pride is when you're always looking down on yourself. You think of yourself as less than everybody else. Inferiority. It's a type of pride. Why is inferiority a type of pride? Because it's all about me, 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 me. Poor me. Every time they talk to people, oh, poor me, everyone treats me bad, I'm suffering, nobody loves me, I'm a worm, you know, I'm unworthy. Please pity me, I want to have a pity party and just sit down and have everybody listen to how poor I am and give me a hug, and just it's all about me, me, me. So that's inferiority, self-centered. It's about self. Okay? Rebellion is this whole thing, the fight abuser. These guys move into superior pride. I've got a whole teaching called the plumb line where we go into this in great detail. And it would take me at least 4 days to do, so I'm not going to do it with you. I'm just going to give you the introduction. Superior pride is, you know, inferior is, I'm less than everybody else. I'm unworthy. I'm not worthy of love. I'm a maggot. And all of this sort of stuff's going on. Whereas superior pride is, I'm better than you. You know, I'm a man, so I'm better than a woman. I'm educated. That's called intellectual pride. I have high education. I'm better than those uneducated people. I'm from South Korea. I'm better than the Japanese. I'm white. I'm better than the blacks. That's all pride, superior pride issues where you pump yourself up and you pump your group up and then you look down on everyone else that's different. Men are superior to women. That whole thing, and then women are superior to men. That's the latest thing that's cursing the earth. Okay, superior pride. And that makes the superior pride people are always pushing everybody else down. They put them down. You're stupid. You're an idiot. You don't have a brain. All of that's coming out of the superior pride because they have to make themselves feel better by pushing everybody else down. Okay. And then the good works thing is, this is what we call self-righteous pride. The most deceptive is these are the hardest people to minister to. You'll find them in Christian ministry. You find them working as counsellors. Self-righteous pride. Because it's all about self. Look how righteous I am. Look at how many good works I'm doing. Jesus loves me because I pray more than everybody else. Jesus loves me because I give 16% in my tithes and offerings. And all of this, but see, they find their identity in what they do. We're supposed to find our identity, by the way, in Christ. Who He is and what He's done for us. And then with gratefulness and thankfulness for who He is and what He's done, then we serve Him and others because we're filled with thankfulness and it's flowing out of a different source, where these people, they're doing all the good works because I want people to look at me and praise me. Because behind every good works person, there's this rejected, inferior person. And in fact, behind every abusive person, there's this little hidden, inferior person. I'm a worm, but I'm going to prove that I'm not, because I'm going to stomp on everybody else and make them my worms. See how this is all working? These are all unholy ways of acting. You know, I feel really insecure, so I'm going to make everybody praise me. And when people praise me, I feel good. And so please praise me, and I'm going to do as many good works as I can. I'm going to pray in front of everybody, and I'm going to make sure they see how much money I give in tithes and offerings, so they go, wow, he's awesome. And then that will pump me up and make me feel good. That's good works syndrome. Church is full of these guys. Christian ministry is full of these guys. I've got this in me. There you go. I've got this, and this. Come out in Jesus' name. So we've got to identify our issues humbly. Like I really pray that God will put a mirror before you today and tomorrow. And in humility that you'll have the ability to see yourself as you really are, and it won't be good, but that's good because you'll see that you're not really like Jesus. And that we need to change to become more like Him. Okay, the next issue, withdrawal and isolation is a characteristic of someone who's deeply wounded. Again, different personalities react in different ways. This is more the flight victim person. They withdraw from others. They're a loner. They don't like to be with other people. They know that they can't control people because they're too weak. And so they actually cut themselves off from relationships. And there's a thing called you're angry at the person but you kick the dog. It's a Tibetan proverb. You're angry at the man so you kick the dog. And it's where you project your frustrations in life onto somebody else. So the husband is frustrated in life with himself and at work, comes home, and then he takes out his frustration on his wife. And if the wife is weaker than him, then he takes out his frustration on her. So the husband walks away, so the wife ends up taking her frustration out on the children. And so what happens is people that are abusers, they project their frustration on the people that are weaker than them. Because in life they've felt like they've been badly done by. So these people, as more the flight, they withdraw, they isolate themselves, and they look around themselves for weaker people so that they can control them. They don't want to get really strong people around them. They cut themselves off from groups. Deep down, because they've been hurt by people, they have an understanding, an ungodly belief, people are not safe. People will hurt me. So these people do not, or they cannot have a lot of friends. They find it very hard to make friends. So they might have just 1 or 2 or 3 friends and that's it in life. Because they fear, when you see people that they cannot build lots of healthy relationships, it's a sign of woundedness. So that's the first one, withdrawal, isolation. These people, they struggle with being alone and feeling alone, but the reality is that they make themselves alone. And there's a fear of being hurt, a fear of people that causes them to be loners. Okay, the next characteristic, number 2, walls of self-protection or self-defense mechanisms go up. Now, self-defense mechanisms that are in the Lord, the armour of God, for example, is very good. When I was a missionary, a young missionary, I'd learned how to control relationships by being very strong and being argumentative. So I would use an argumentative and even anger, and I would control this group by arguing and not backing down and fighting and everything. And so our missionary meetings were like that, you know. No, I don't agree with that, no. And I got to get into it. But that was in the flesh. And I remember I went to a lot of meetings like that, and one day God spoke to me after a meeting. He said, Glenn, do you want to be in charge of this meeting and take over, or do you want me to be in charge? And I said, well, God, I want you to be in charge. He said, then you need to back off. Because every time you go into these meetings, you take control. You're a controller. And you use anger and you intimidate people and you get angry at them and because you want to control them. And so God really hit me on this in my life. And he said, Glenn, I want you to take off that armor of self-defensiveness, this anger and this stubbornness and this argumentativeness. I want you to put that off and I want you just to go in there and you are not allowed to speak. That's what God said. I want to be in control of this meeting. You are not allowed to speak. I said, but God, everyone else can speak, but you are not allowed to. And so I went into the meeting. They're going to make all these big decisions about where we're going to go and what we're going to do. And it's like, I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to do stuff I don't want to do. And I want to be in control here. If I lose control, I'll get hurt. And I had to just shut up and say, well, God says, no, I want to be in control. Do you want me to be in control? I said, yes. He says, shut up. So I'm sitting there in a whole meeting. I never felt so insecure and fearful in my life. I felt so uneasy because I wasn't allowed to, and they're going to make all the decisions and I'm just going to agree and do what they say. And so what happened is, where I was being like this in the meetings when God said to shut up, I found out that I was actually this person. With this fear and insecurity and everything. And then they're going to make decisions I don't like. And then I said to the Lord, I said, well, this isn't really healthy that I'm feeling like this. And he said, then learn how to put on my armor. And so I had to learn how to put on not the armor of the flesh, I put on the armor of God. And I literally put it on. I'm going to go into this meeting right now, put on the armor of God. I'm going to pray before the meeting. Lord, can you please take control of this meeting? The reason I was taking control is I didn't trust God to take control because there's people like me in the meeting that always try to take control. And so, you know, God won't get his way because that other controlling person will, and I've got to beat them. And so now I have to really pray. So, God, you need to really take control. Lord, let your kingdom come. And I start praying and I put on the armor of God. And at the end of the meeting, it's really interesting. They all share their opinion. They look at me and they say, Glenn, you haven't shared anything. What's your opinion? And then God said, now you can share your opinion, Glenn. And I shared what I felt God was saying, and they did what I said. But I did it in a godly way. I didn't take control. God had given me a wisdom. And so, the wall, all of us have different sorts of walls. Some people get really stubborn. And they become unteachable. And they won't listen to anybody else's opinion because I know what to do. That's a wall of self-protection. So they guard themselves from being hurt. That's the bottom line. They don't want to be hurt, so they put up these walls. They fear people causing them pain, and they do not trust people. They have a lack of true trust in people. They can't let that other person make decisions. I have to be in control. I have to make the decision. You have to do it my way. I don't trust anybody. So these people, they're not able to trust others. And this is swinging over to this sort of personality here. They'll do one of two things. If they start to lose control, they'll pull away because they realise they can't be in control anymore. So they're going to pull away. I don't care. You do whatever you want. I'm not going to have anything to do with your group. That's the first thing they do. Or they will increasingly become aggressive and angry and then start to confront the other people in order to try to take back control. Fear is at the bottom of their behaviour. Fear is the opposite of faith. And it's a fear of being hurt that builds up these walls. Okay, so that's walls of self-protection. And so how are you in relationships? Are you someone that tries to keep control? What are your self-defense mechanisms? Are you fight or flight? Okay, the next one. Being very possessive. A very possessive personality. Now understand, God, everything belongs to God. So a biblical way of looking at stuff is, ultimately, Humi is my wife, but ultimately she is God's daughter. Yeah. So ultimately, Humi is not mine. She's God's. So how I treat my wife, I have to give direct account to God. If I abuse my wife, I'm abusing God's daughter, and He is not happy with that. But possessiveness is, she's my wife, she belongs to me. She's mine. In Christian ministry, I've heard pastors say that. That's my person, don't touch them, you know. This is my church, no one touch my church. I'm in charge of this church. Well, it's not your church, it belongs to Jesus. And this is the thing, the church belongs to Jesus. The people belong to Jesus. I want to lead them to Jesus. But this whole thing, it's mine. This car is mine. No, it's not. Your car belongs to Jesus. Ultimately, the money in your bank account belongs to Jesus. And that's the more biblical way of thinking. But we're all, this is mine. And we get very possessive of people and things. These people get very, very possessive. And they'll sometimes have 2 or 3 people around them that they control very strongly. They don't like people in their life that they can't control. So they want to get the people that, because they want to possess the person. Okay? And so they'll sometimes only have 1 or 2 friends that are really close friends. 1 or 2. They don't have a lot of very deep heart friends because they want to be in control of the relationships around them that possess people. They become very threatened by others trying to enter those relationships and have influence. They don't like it when a friend comes along to their best friend and then this other friend has more influence than them. This is my friend. They don't like it when someone comes to their wife and gives counsel and empowers their wife to rise up and make a godly decision that they don't agree with. That's my wife. I don't want other people giving her counsel. This is this sort of thing. Very possessive, gets threatened by others moving into their circle of control and having influence. They can often start to smother the people